If you would like to support the cause, $3.99 a month. All you have to do is unlock the first episode.
$3.99 a month? Wow. That's cheap.
What a deal.
I would do that.
I wouldn't. JK. I got new glasses. What do you think?
I like them. I didn't even notice they were new.
I was wearing them Wednesday. Kevin.
Were you?
Yeah.
Well, you always look good. You look good with glasses.
Oh,
You look good
thanks.
without them.
I try.
You're a handsome fella.
seem
I really
different.
don't try. I'm wearing basketball shorts and shit today.
Well, I think
you
you're
seem
cute.
different. What's going on with you? You seem different today.
I'm always different. I'm different every day.
Chris, you need the mic closer to you.
Oh, yeah?
I
Okay.
think. Am I wrong, Brian?
I would like to hear his sweet voice.
Yeah, we got to get more of that Balboni voice.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Better?
I don't know.
It's not quite up to
We're
par
going
yet.
to boom it. We're going to boom just right about there.
That's
There
perfect.
he
How's
is.
that?
That's
There it
perfect.
is.
There he
There it
is. Fuck yeah. Is that uncomfortable?
No.
Yeah.
Just foreign.
Yeah.
But all right.
Well, it's weird with that chair, man. Like, I like to have the mic up here, but because I can lean back if I want to, and I can go forward.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
It's
No, I
hard
get
to
you.
do with that chair. It's not really a leaner.
A leaner.
It's not a leaner.
It's not a leaner. It's folding. Folds.
So what do you got going on in the arm wrestling world, Chris?
20th is another tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell
170.
the people like the one person who's listening. Like tell them like what's going on with you.
Emerging 176 Pro. Right and left-handed.
Fuck.
I don't have a... Actually, I'd say I'm more dominant with my left, but then again, I'm not dominant because I'm, like I said, just merging.
Are you
You're a humble
ambidextrous by any chance?
It's not that I'm ambidextrous. I'm like 90% of the strength with my left that I am with my right. So, and most people are right-handed. So they walk up to the table with
Guilty.
their left, and they don't know how to move the same as they move with their right. So typically, you know...
That makes
It's-
sense.
Yeah. So they'll default to a different move. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because
If you
the
can-
strength, there'd be a difference in strength, so the technique would be different, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, or the technique will be up there, but the strength isn't. So they
Ah.
can get their hand in the way, and then you end up just going through their hand.
Ah.
So their hand is where it's supposed to be, but there's not enough horsepower or torque to back it up. If that makes any sense.
No, that does make
Yeah,
sense.
that's typically what it is too with arm wrestling as well. There is that 1% difference in horsepower and torque dictates the match,
Yeah.
unless that guy knows how to counter it, and it's called arm wrestling, but that's a bit of a misnomer because it was once called wrist wrestling, and the reason Oh, okay.
We're all.
Here I am. I thought you turned the thing off. All right. Anyway, yeah. So it's
All right. Fuck editing.
so it is wrist wrestling because it's your hand.
Editing's overrated.
It's your
Now you're
hand.
in frame.
It's not necessarily your arm. It's
I
your
don't need to
hand.
be in frame.
If your hand is stronger than your opponent's, then you're probably going to win. However, there is the strap, which is always an option. The strap favors the arm over the hand. So you're going to have a guy with an absolutely dominant hand, and the other dude's going to try to slip and get the strap because his arm is strong, but his hand's not as strong as his opponent. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I would say, I don't know, I'm a plumber.
Yeah.
I think maybe my forearm is stronger than actually like my tri or my bicep.
It probably is.
So I would probably have more of strength up here, right? Than I would.
Yeah, it's all through here. It's all connective and anchored.
Look at that fucking arm.
In your elbow.
I know it's.
Look at that thing.
You could just be an arm model.
Yeah, you could.
Apparently I've been given the genes. I've been blessed.
Look at
with
the
arm
veins,
wrestling
dude.
genes.
You fucking
I-
pipes.
I do-
Everybody's coming on to Chris right now, like, look at those arms.
Look at this motherfucker.
Look at those arms. Can you take the shirt off?
You could be a cock model too.
Where else do you have veins?
All right, I'll tailor it back a little bit.
What's your record?
Like I said, I don't really have one.
Yeah.
My last tournament was my first pro tournament. I got third place left, and I don't want to talk about it. But at the same time,
That's awesome, man.
I learned more about arm wrestling at that tournament than I did in the 3 years prior to being in arm wrestling. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Don't get me wrong. When I was training and practicing with like coach and whatnot, you know, I learned quite a bit. But there's nothing like a loss. There's nothing like losses.
You won't learn
Well, you
like
don't-
you do
A
when you
loss
lose.
can
You
teach
need
you a
it.
lot.
Yeah.
You
Well,
kind of need it.
Yeah, well,
Definitely.
You don't. So if you go through life, right, and everybody's giving you attaboys, you're just going to continue doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Why would you change? Everybody's smiling at you. Why would you change?
That's true. You
But
wouldn't-
if people are, you know what I mean, being negative towards you or this, that, or the other thing, there must be something that you're doing wrong, right?
right. All
And
right.
that's
what
the way
can
I see
do
a
different
loss.
this time?
That's the exact way I see a loss. I'm going to learn more from that loss and figure out how to overcome or like strengthen that weakness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's just kind of the way it works.
Absolutely.
Eventually, your weaknesses, your inequities, become your strengths. When it comes to arm wrestling, especially because it's not. Sure, it's your bicep. Don't get me wrong, but it's more anchoring tissue. It's cartilage. Tendons, cartilage.
All the cartilage that I
ligaments,
had
yeah.
that I don't have no more.
Well, you probably have a ton of like tendon and ligament strength just from using your hands constantly.
Yeah.
From being a laborer, you know what I mean?
That's
from doing
true.
laborer's work.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a plumber, you're not a laborer. I don't mean to denigrate your
How
occupation.
dare you? I'm a licensed plumber.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
rad, man. There's a lot more to arm wrestling than I thought. I obviously when you said arm wrestling to me when you're getting into it, I thought it was great. And immediately I think of like Over the Top and how they like go for the wrist and shit, which I guess there's some accuracy in that movie. Huh?
Yeah, definitely.
That's cool.
That was one of the so I'm not exactly sure when the year was, but I have watched videos where you can't even top roll. And that's over the top. Over the top is a top roll. It's referring to the top roll.
What does that mean? You can't, like, it's illegal?
But yeah, at one point you weren't allowed to bend that wrist back. It was straight wrist. Like you could do other things, but if the wrist went back, they would basically correct it. They would tell you to stop being so strong.
Oh, really?
Because you're
Oh,
going to hurt
shit.
your opponent, basically.
Yeah.
When you're in that position, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with the way in which they used to like, if you watch the evolution of arm wrestling from like, a park bench or a school table, a lunch table,
Yeah.
throughout history, it has evolved. And it has gotten to the point now where it's basically an amalgamation of all the decades prior. And even the equipment and the table has changed. Everything has changed.
Yeah.
So technique has changed, become more refined. And there's I could really get super deep into this and go down there. Like it's not like really even like a rabbit hole either, because it's something that everybody has at least done once, but only some people do as a sport or a passion, pastime,
Go as
hobby.
deep as you want to go, man. Go.
Yeah, yeah.
Dive into this.
Yeah. I'm so hopeful and happy having landed in this sport because I've met so many guys that are, in their 60s and 70s and still competing competitively against guys that are in their 20s. And like if
No
it were
shit,
on
huh?
if it were on a court or in a field,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? These guys got bad knees, they got bad hips. They're doing the same job that the young guy does, but they've been doing it for 40-something years, Now you add the arm wrestling in, and there you go. You have this guy that has really refined his tools.
Yeah.
He's a 60-year-old man, and he'll crush. He will crush so many 20-year-olds, and people will be and that's what's so cool, the longevity. The longevity in the sport is actually really, really cool.
Absolutely.
I could see myself doing it for another, literally 4 decades.
Yeah. So
awesome.
You hopped into it when you were around 35, right?
Yeah,
You're 37 now.
Yep.
So
yeah.
so why what sparked your interest in arm wrestling at 35?
It's gonna sound like everybody else. It's I don't want to say Devin Lorrat. I don't want to say like YouTube.
Who's Devin Lorrat?
Oh, Devin Lorrat's. Who's Devin Lorrat? Devin Lorrat's an incredible.
Opened up
He's
a
an
can of worms.
Phenomenal arm
He's-
wrestler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
In many ways, you could say that Devin Lorrat put arm wrestling kind of on the map.
I mean
I
zero
would say.
disrespect when I say who is
Oh
that.
no, and that's the thing. I can't give the man enough respect to actually, truly talk about who Devin Lorrat is and what he means to the sport. I mean, same thing with John
Really?
Brzenk and whatnot too.
Wow, how
And
do you say that? What's his name?
John Brzenk.
Jean Brzenk.
John Brzenk. Oh, yeah. He's the GOAT.
Okay.
He's it. You know what I mean? He's been dominating since the late 70s, early 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
I imagine for arm wrestling, that was like a certain peak around that time too, right? Was arm wrestling like particularly big for that?
You know what? I'm going to say yes and no.
Okay.
Because, yeah, sure, 1986 Over the Top tournament was the largest tournament ever. The payout of that Volvo truck that John Brzenk actually won, the Over the Top Volvo truck, was like $210,000 truck.
Wow.
So that's like the highest payout ever.
So
And
was that
was
an
in
actual?
1985,
Was that a
you know?
real tournament?
That was
Yeah, that was real.
Oh,
So when they
wow.
were filming that movie, there's actually scenes where that's a real tournament.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
it's really cool. I want to say, there are a couple of big names in there too.
Well,
from
we
the
all know
80s.
Sylvester Stallone got the truck.
Yeah. John did. I want to say there's two of those. I want to say there's one of them burned, if I remember correctly, and the other one that they used in the movie.
Oh wow.
We got
So you-
Bruce Way as John Grizzly, if that helps a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's he's the main bad guy, right? Oh
Yeah, I
no,
believe so.
John Grizzly he's the dude that drinks the motor oil, I think.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. And then he ends up losing to Stallone because he's got like acid reflux
he
or
fucking
indigestion or
drank
something.
motor oil?
yeah. Yeah. He eats his whole cigar and stuff like that.
I vaguely
just
remember
like
that.
Magic Schwartz, Terry Funk.
Oh yeah, Terry
Um,
Funk is in that. Wow.
So I imagine
Randy
those are
Rainey.
real arm
Yeah.
wrestlers.
Yeah. Bob Wilson's in it as well, and not Jan Germanis. What is that guy's name? He's got curly hair, red hair. There's a picture of him. It looks like it's a 150-pound dumbbell, and he's doing a table curl with it. I can't think of his name, but it's
Christ
an
almighty.
awesome. You know what I mean? He's just one of
That's
those
crazy.
guys that was just like, wow.
Paul
But-
Diamante.
Yeah, there's one scene I can specifically
Bob.
remember him. The other guy across the table slams the table and yells, and then he basically just goes "Rah!" and shows and shows his arm, and his arm. He looks like some dad, but his arm's
That
like
guy's
brutal.
arm. Joshua Lee Patton.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's Dave Patton's brother.
Okay.
Dave Patton was also he's a lightweight, 155. He was incredible for years and years.
Any relation to Mike Patton?
Possibly.
Yeah,
I know Mike Patton.
Yeah, you know Mike Patton.
I know a
musician
lot
Mike
of
Patton.
patents actually.
Rick Zumwalt.
Oh, that is the main bad guy. That's
Yeah.
the huge guy that
Is
Stallone.
he related to General Patton?
I want to say he was a real arm wrestler too, Zimwalt. I want to say that he was a.
Yeah, he is. He's a
I want to say,
professional.
former world champion, super heavy.
Wow. So is that over the top tournament? Was that like an annual thing?
No, that
Was
was
that
like
just-
a one-time thing that they did, and
Okay.
when they filmed the movie, it kind of. I don't know if that was directly funded by the film. I don't know if Canon Films funded. You know what I mean? Over
Yeah.
the top,
Yeah.
but I know that it was heavily involved in influencing that film. So I think that tournament was going on, and they kind of coordinated it with Stallone while this script was being written.
No
And this is
shit.
all supposition and speculation, by the
Yeah,
way.
I get you.
But
You're
you can
probably
only
right.
imagine. I can only imagine.
Makes
so.
sense.
Yeah. It's cool.
That is cool.
As far as the sport goes, though, I mean, it's one of those things where anyone can do it. Anyone can do it.
I imagine arm wrestling has to be one of the oldest things.
Other than punching each
Like
other
in the
the
world.
face.
Like I know. Like,
pretty
yeah,
much.
yeah.
Other than a straight up war or
I mean,
fighting.
yeah, exactly.
If it is,
They must have been doing that back in fucking
Yeah.
Roman.
you're absolutely right. The generals used to decide their orders. Generals used to decide who was gonna dictate the strategy by arm wrestling.
That first motherfucker that figured out how to top roll. He
Yeah.
fucking steamed his way through generations
Yeah.
of people, I bet.
Well, there probably ended up being like a martial art behind it after that, and then the fucking techniques.
Yeah.
And then it was just such a tight knit crew that it wasn't regarded people don't know about the straps and the top over and
Yeah.
Yeah.
certain stuff like that unless they get into it. And back then, I imagine it was probably in a pretty exclusive club too. The people that stuck to it and actually blossomed it into what it is now.
Yeah, man.
You're actually
Absolutely.
kind of explaining the way it is today.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, sure, it's open and it's to the public, but a lot of the places where you go for arm wrestling, it's not like selective, but you got to prove yourself. You don't just show up there. You don't just show up there and they're all ingratiating.
Yeah.
Should be
No,
like that.
these
You gotta
guys
prove yourself.
These
That's
guys
good.
these guys try like literally put their hearts on their sleeves, they put their arms on the line, and they like, you know, they're not breaking each other's arms, but they're trying to win and be the most dominant arm wrestler.
Yeah.
That's
Fuck,
it's strength.
I
And
you
you
know?
imagine shit has torn and like
Oh
broken.
yeah. I'm fortunate that
Yeah.
like it hasn't happened to me,
Yeah.
and I haven't seen it like happen to anyone
Dude,
else.
I
But
can only imagine. You got a guy your size doing that with someone else, like your size as well,
Yeah.
and you're fucking like an even competition. You do like I can only imagine.
Waiting
Like there's
for,
so
like,
many
a
little
blood
tears.
vessel to
and-
burst or
yeah,
something.
blood, anything.
that
Did you have you seen any of that before? Has anyone ever like just had to stop because they fucking tore something?
at the Keystones in Pennsylvania a couple of months ago, I competed. That's the one that I got the third and not very good.
You sent me an awesome. I'll go back to that. You sent me an awesome text with you holding medals, but we'll go back to that.
Oh, okay. That was Vermont. Anyway,
Okay.
a gentleman, an older gentleman, I want to say he was in his 50s, he broke his arm. Amateur. He broke his arm, and I guess it was audible, like you could hear it
Imagine
from a
breaking your arm in
distance.
your 50s.
Oh God.
Well, the unfortunate thing about it is, especially in the amateur classes, they don't know. They just want to win and pin the other guy, and they don't realize that they're actually putting themselves into an arm break position. A lot of people will do something because they feel really strong in that position, or because they're desperate.
Or they're getting baited.
Yeah, not in amateurs, but yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
That's more pro. That's more pro.
Right on.
But they will put themselves into a bad position because they think that they're either strong or, like I said, they're desperate to win, and that's when they will start surging. You know,
yep.
or the other guy will, as they put themselves in that bad spot, and that's how it ends. It's typically a fracture of the humerus, which turns into a spiral fracture. So your humerus cracks.
So
or
where is that?
your humerus is right here.
Okay.
So it'll crack right here or up here towards the shoulder.
That sounds very painful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Another
boy.
one too is when people are in this position.
Can
and
we
they're
see that
really
on the
low.
camera, Brian?
I can do it left.
You're
I can
pretty
do-
good.
Yeah, you're
pretty
good.
good with your right.
So people
For
will
those
end
at
up
home
in this
who are
position
watching.
right here, right? And then they'll begin to surge.
Yeah.
And in that upward movement of the thumb, they'll actually break their radius.
Dude, you have a giant radius.
they'll break that. And
What are we talking about here? His
it's-
arm or his...
it's one of those
He's
things.
got a vein wrapped around his radius where he's pointing that's like popping at my face.
It's
hot up
calling
here.
out
It's
to
hot
you.
up here.
It's calling you.
It is hot as
It
hell.
is hot
up
as
there,
hell.
Yeah. No, it's that's those are your typical injuries, or it'll be something a shoulder tear, bicep tear. You know what I mean? Obviously, something's
Those
going to
sound
affect.
like more common ones.
Yeah.
a tear.
It depends on your pull style as well too. You know what I mean? Because if you're pulling in the hook, that's a ton of bicep.
So-
However, if you're pulling in a top roll, that's a whole lot more forearm and hand.
See,
It's
I would
also
never be
safer.
able to do this because it's even
You'd
hard
be
to.
surprised, man.
It's
You'd
hard
be
to even
surprised.
throw a football for me nowadays, like
Oh,
with
yeah?
full force, because my shoulders from plumbing. I feel like certain trades can really just weaken down your joints and like
I'm willing to bet in a couple of years I'm going to have to throw underhand.
underhand.
I will have to throw underhand because I know exactly where you're coming from with the shoulder thing.
Ah.
By the way,
shit.
anybody here or anybody
Rotator
listening,
cuffs, I think that's
as
what
far
it
as
means.
arm wrestling goes, be prepared for that.
Your
You-
shoulder? Is that
Shoulder.
what
Your
goes?
shoulders, your elbows, your hands.
Your growth plate. I could picture
Yeah.
the growth like right here. I broke my growth plate before, and when I've arm wrestled just for fun since then, I
Yeah.
feel the pressure like in my bone.
Ooh.
Oh, definitely. Because all that point right there where you just pointed to,
Yeah.
that's the insertion of basically like all three of your major tendons
Okay.
right there.
No
Right
shit.
there, right, like everything that is like the epicenter of arm wrestling.
If you guys were to your right and his left, it would be right in the middle of the camera.
That's good, right?
okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you were to demonstrate that later on.
Zane.
okay, cool. Yeah, that's it's one of those things where as you progress and you get better, and you start to recognize and understand what you're doing, you do less of those desperation movements. You do less of those arm break positions.
It's like more controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, you can end up in those positions anyway because you can more trust your body because you have been doing it long enough. If you've been doing it for like 3 to 5 years, then you know what you're capable of.
Yes.
And you may or may not put yourself in the way of that guy that's trying to win because you're being defensive. That's just a defensive position. You must do that.
That's true.
Wow. To catch.
Yeah, to catch
Okay.
or to just get behind something.
I gotcha.
Have you ever been in the position of like a match where you feel like you might have put yourself in a dangerous spot, or maybe you had to throw the match because you didn't want to hurt yourself, tear something,
Yeah.
break
Yeah.
something?
Yeah. I can tell you his name. He's a WAL competitor, World Arm Wrestling League. His name's Adam Wilmot.
Adam Wilmot.
Adam Wilmot.
Shout
Is
out
that
to
right?
Adam Wilmot.
No,
Yes.
he-
Balboni's gonna get you.
He's coming for it.
Adam, you are awesome in the strap. Anyway, he got me very low in basically that same position that was there, and I was surging and surging and surging to try to pull through him and get him back. But after a little while, yeah, sure, he won, but I stopped the surging because I realized that I was going to just throw away my entire tournament
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
because I would have blew my load
Wow.
in that one loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, why would I? Whatever.
If you felt like you were at a disadvantage anyways, why are you going to hurt yourself?
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
the strategy didn't occur until the match was lost.
That's smart.
That's the
man.
best way to describe.
Absolutely.
How, yeah. So.
That's smart. That's smart that you did that. It's humble.
Yeah.
It's smart and humble.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in
Thank you.
basketball.
Well, you
when
fucking saved like the rest of the tournament, you know, and possibly your career.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
Yeah.
Made someone
yeah.
else's day
It's
too.
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, he was. Well, I mean, for him to beat me, good for him. But at the same time, he's been doing it for like many, many years. You know what I mean? and that's not a detraction yet.
It's like
again.
there's
It
no-
is what it is,
There's
though.
no
Yeah,
shame.
Yeah.
The more you put into something, the more you're gonna get back. You've been putting in for the last couple of years.
Yeah,
Like, dude, where you're at for like when you got into it and for how long you've been doing it is crazy. It's fucking crazy.
So which side of it
Yeah.
demands more endurance, being on the offense or the defense?
Both.
Because one has to be more draining than the other, especially
Defense.
to a point. Yeah.
Defense. I can say that. I had to think about it for a sec, but defense and I can say this only from my fortunate experience within the sport. I am not tired after a tournament in which I dominate. I don't even feel it the next day.
So-
and I'm sure my opponents are in the exact opposite boat. You
So
know what I
you're-
mean?
You're
Yeah,
saying on
definitely.
their offense, you're depending on their offense weighing down and them losing their endurance that way, and you could just hold like defense all day.
Oh no, I would typically be offensive.
Okay.
Since my arm is so, for my weight, 176,
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I'm around 6'4".
Okay.
And for a 176-pound dude to be 6'4", my lever, like, what you were talking about earlier in technique expanding since those ancient times.
Yeah.
Think of it like this.
Look at
The
a lever.
Yeah, the concept of the lever.
Yeah.
The concept of the lever. So my lever is long, right? So I can come down and hard
Yeah.
and go over people. But at the same time, I have a long lever, so no matter what, I'm traveling upwards. Unless I'm winning. Even when I am starting, and we haven't even started pulling yet, I have to go up to get into
Yeah.
a better position. They don't. They just have to pull back.
No shit.
So,
So you have defense right from the beginning going on.
yeah, well, I would have to.
Yeah.
So there are a couple. So I'm a back pressure puller.
Okay.
I pull back like that. I pull your hand backwards. I don't go sideways.
That's your shoulder too. There
Yeah,
it
I don't go
goes.
sideways in the hook. I will go into the hook, but I pull your arm backwards and take your hand. I like this position right here. It's called the
Is
high
that to
hook.
use the leverage to your advantage?
Yeah, and that's something that I naturally did. Like the first practice, I was instantaneously doing that, and everybody's like top roller, And I was like, I guess I'm a top roller. You know what I mean? Like it only
It came like
recently-
instinctually, like
yeah. It's just, that was just my natural pulling vector. Boom, I get you to here, and then I just watch your hand.
nice.
And it's evolved since then and gotten better. You know what I mean? My technique, it's more refined. But like you was back to what you were saying is if you're fast and strong and on the offensive and you can flash people.
Yeah.
I refer to it when you top roll as scraping because you're scraping their knuckles. You scrape their knuckles on the pad because you're bringing them over, and then typically,
And you control the fluctuation, like.
Well, you kind of try to dominate and dictate the match with just your hand if you're top rolling.
Yeah.
Like I want to control your hand, get you into this position, and then just bring your arm down.
So, go ahead. Sorry.
And that's one of the reasons why you lose less energy when you win than when you're defensive.
Okay.
Because the defensive guy, right, he's holding you
Yeah.
as you're driving in, and you go through him.